On June 15, 1945, an unparalleled woman was born in the Philippines. During her life, she was called several different things. The Iron Lady of Asia, the Incorruptible Lady, MDS, but her personal favorites were Mrs. and Mom. Miriam Defensor Santiago was the eldest of 7 children. Her dad was an attorney and her mom was a brilliant mathematician. They taught all their children to accept nothing less than excellence, especially from themselves. At first, Miriam wanted to be a nun. She said it was in fashion at the time, but her family needed her to help make ends meet. Spoiler alert, she did not become a nun. Anyway, when it was time to go to university, she told her dad she wanted to get a master's degree in literature, to be a writer. He pointed out that that type of degree would probably just lead her to academia, and recommended she become an attorney instead, because they had so many criminals in their family. I mean, job security, am I right? Anyway, she was a self-proclaimed knowledge vulture. She literally read the encyclopedia from beginning to end because she wanted to. She never noticed boys. They were just furniture to her. She didn't want dates. She wanted that knowledge. She also said she never had a crush on anyone until her husband. I feel like that might be because he didn't give up on trying to get her to notice him. She ended up studying law at the University of the Philippines, where in 1965 she graduated magna cum laude with a bachelor's in political science. Yeah, but at the university, it wasn't just about the grades. She excelled in, well, basically everything, including getting the highest number of scholarships, being the first woman editor-in-chief of the university newspaper, was the first woman student to win Best Debater, and the Manila Chronicle magazine called her Supergirl. On a more superficial level, Miriam was a hot potato. Yeah, she also won a campus beauty contest. This next part brings joy to my soul because she has a direct connection to my home state. From 1974 to 1976, Miriam studied law at the University of Michigan. Only took her a year for Master of Laws. And in just 6 more months, she earned her Doctor of Juridical Science. She took those degrees home and proceeded to work her ass off for Filipinos. She became widely known for rooting out and punishing corruption, specifically in the government. She herself held roles in all 3 branches of government. In 1983, she became the youngest woman presiding judge in the regional trial court in Quezon City. She wasn't just Supergirl now. She was the fighting judge and incorruptible. See, as judge, she would not tolerate delays and bullshit. She literally once said, "Justice delayed is justice denied." Later, she was a cabinet member, then a senator for 3 terms, a legal officer in the United Nations, and in December of 2011, was the first Filipino and first Asian from a developing country to be elected in the UN as judge of the International Criminal Court. Now, in case you didn't know, that court hears cases regarding heads of state. However, she did resign the position just 3 years later due to a health diagnosis that I'll get to. Okay, she did way more than I can possibly detail here. So I'm gonna let the Philippine Senate sum it up for me. Quote, she was considered the leading expert of her generation in both constitutional and international law. One of her most important actions came when she, in effect, began the National Plunder Investigation, more commonly called the pork barrel scam. Okay, this is going to be very simplified, however. In 2012, and while she was a senator, she put the Senate president on notice. He'd been taking bribes. Well, most senators had been. When she proved her case, it came out that she was one of only 3 who had never accepted a bribe. And for some reason, shit started to change. In her time as senator, Miriam filed the most bills and authored some of the country's most important laws, many of which directly helped women and children. Miriam was also a devout Catholic, but basically said that God is whatever we don't understand yet. And she was okay with that. She was not okay with a complete suspension of logic, or of someone dictating to her what her faith should be. For example, she called bullshit on Noah's 2x2 animal zoo. Instead, she believed that civilization was already advanced back then, and the world's original zookeeper had actually taken DNA samples of all God's creations. Then that giant flood came through, and destroyed any possible evidence of an advanced society. Side note, destruction of knowledge is cyclical, so that is definitely not outside the realm of possibility. She strongly supported a woman's right to prevent motherhood, but didn't support allowing a woman to choose after, if you catch my meaning. Oh, and going back to that DNA thing, she said when DNA is brought into things, there should be at least 3 designations: male, female, and anyone who is neither or both. Because, quote, these are the varieties of human experience, right? I totally agree, Senator, and most of us do. She, quote, longed for the day when members of the rainbow alphabet no longer had to live in fear. I share that dream. Miriam also ran for president of the Philippines 3 times. In 1992, 1998, and 2016. She was declared the winner once, but between vote buying and bullying at the polls, it was determined that that wasn't the case. Again, very simplified. Okay, so I said she ran in 2016, but remember that health diagnosis I mentioned from 2014? Yeah, so she wasn't only battling political opponents. She was fighting stage 4 lung cancer. Yeah, kids, that means terminal. But it did not slow her down. Remember she originally wanted to be a writer? Well, in her lifetime, she wrote some 30 books, most of which dealt with law and social sciences. She's also really well known for her ability to turn a phrase. Sorry, I gotta share a couple because she's fucking awesome. During one of her campaigns, quote, I may not be a genius, but my opponents are certifiable idiots. Of course, there were the people that she pissed off for being incorruptible. And they wanted to stop her from doing that. So they tried several times. She was once in a very serious car accident while campaigning. It was never solved, but definitely looked intentional. So her badass said, I eat unaliving threats for breakfast. When she was a commissioner and pissed off employees there, and they wanted to raise a stink, she said, quote, go stick your finger in the wall socket. When she resigned from one post, she said, this is goodbye. I shall fade into the night like Batman. Okay, the last one I'm going to quote, because she never backed down from a fight, never surrendered her morals, and once said, quote, why did man climb Mount Everest? Because it was there. Why am I fighting graft and corruption? Because it is here. As I said, bad ass. She maintained 2 libraries. There was the professional one in her office, and her personal one, which clearly was her favorite of the 2. It held about 1 million books, and she read all of them. Now, non-readers are going to say that's impossible. Readers know it isn't. She wasn't reading just one at a time. There was the nightstand book, the living room book, the car book, the kitchen book, the book in her purse for long waits. You get it. But most of all, she loved taking care of her family. One reporter wrote that at home on the weekends, she is a housewife and mother who laughs, and laughs loudest. Even such an accomplished woman experiences pain. She and her husband experienced an unimaginable loss when one of her children took his own life in 2003. Throughout her career, she was honored many times and received numerous awards. Outstanding Woman in the Nation's Service, inducted into the Philippine Judges Association Hall of Fame, Most Outstanding Alumna in Law from the University of the Philippines. Her most treasured award, however, was the Ramon Magsaysay Award for bold and moral courage in cleaning up a corrupt government agency. Miriam Defensor Santiago lost her battle with lung cancer on September 29, 2016. In 2018, she was posthumously awarded the Quezon Service Cross, the highest national honor given in the Philippines. She is one of only 6 people, and the only woman, to have received it. She once said that she most wanted to be remembered as a good wife and mother. And she is. She is also remembered as an inspiration, a feisty iron lady, a role model, and the best president the Philippines never had.